morning, or depending when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always told, out of Voice of Radio. So today, we need to take a look at all of the secret rares that have come around in Astonishing Vault Tackle. Yeah, that's right. It's 2 days before the set launches, which means that today we get the secret rares, which means we should probably talk about the secret rares. And we should probably talk about how awesome Primal Lugia is of PokeGuardian.com, because in a shocking twist that no one could possibly have seen coming, they are the lovely person that's hooked us up with these images. So let's start off having a little bit of a look at some full art Pokemon V, and we've got the ones we would usually expect to have. A few of them, actually. So we've got ourselves an Orbeetle V, and I'll be honest with you, I'm not a huge fan of Orbeetle V. We'll talk about the V Max in a little bit. I like the V Max quite a bit more. Orbeetle V, single energy, 20 damage, and you may switch with one of your benches. Fine, but it's really not that spectacular. And then we've got 2 energy, and you do 50 damage base, plus 30 for each more energy attached to your opponent's active. It's fine, but it is unspectacular. Now, we're also getting ourselves a lovely full art version of Talonflame, and this is a much, much better card. Talonflame, I am a huge fan of. It's got free retreat, and for a single colorless energy, it's got Dedene's ability, but you can use it turn 1 going first. You discard your hand, you draw 6 cards, but you can use it turn 1 going first. I do expect this to see a bunch of play to give you a significant consistency boost going first. What if you go second? Use Welder. Get 2 energy on, attach a third from your hand, boom, 160. Oh, you've got to discard 1 energy. I think you'll be fine. Yeah. Talonflame, if you go first, is nuts for the consistency attack. And if you go second, is nuts because you can do 160 turn 1 going second. That is kind of awesome. Galerian Darmanitan V, I'm afraid I'm back to the not a huge fan here. Again, there is a VMAX that I like quite a bit more. But, I mean, here we're looking 2 energy, 50 damage, paralysis on a coin flip. And yeah, sure, we do have the option of using Glimwood Tangle, so we get to flip a second time to try and get that paralysis, but it's still not really enough damage. And then free energy, 190 to the active, 30 damage to itself. Again, fine, but nothing particularly exciting. We're then also getting a full art version of Pikachu V, and quite frankly, people are going to love Pikachu V because people love Pikachu. Now, and this is becoming a bit of a theme in this set, I'm sorry, I'm a much bigger fan of the V Max than I am of the V here, but Pikachu V, I mean, free energy, 200, discard all energy from this Pokemon. It's not terrible. It does have a first attack that allows you to accelerate 2 energy from the deck to it, which is quite nice. And then you've got all kinds of other stuff like Tapu Koko and that new Electrode and Pikachu and Zekrom, and there are ways to accelerate energy over here, which is quite nice. But I do think we're going to be focusing on the VMAX more. Now, Alakazam doesn't have a VMAX, Alakazam just has a V. But I'll be honest with you, I really like Alakazam V, and the more I think about it, the more I like it. Now, the first attack is literally the same as Mew from Unbroken Bonds, but it's not a colorless energy, so the less said about that, the better. But for 2 energy, you do 30 damage for each card in your opponent's hand. So if you catch your opponent with a large hand of cards, you can really punish them using this attack. And that's something that I really do think could be really, really fun. This is one that I've got my eye on this as a cheeky little attacker. Especially if you want to use something like Turbo Patch to sneak that second energy on, drop this as a surprise. I think there could be a bit of mileage in Alakazam V. Now, Galarian Surfetched V, I mean, I love me some fighting Pokemon, so clearly this is one I've got my eye on. And this one could be kind of cool. It's got one of those abilities that when you move from the bench to the active, you can move any number of fighting energy from your other Pokemon to it, which is clearly a nice ability to get set up. And then free energy, 200 damage, though it cannot attack next turn. Cool. That is absolutely fine by me. I think this is another one of those that could end up being a really, really strong Pokemon going forward. And I don't mean in terms of we're all going to make decks based around it, etc., because I don't think we're going to. But as a kind of one-off tech in fighting decks, when you've got a bit of energy spread around and you want to get it all in one place to smash, yeah, that's fine by me. We are getting a Drapion V, and this is another one that I am concerned as to how good it might end up being. For free energy, you do 70 damage, which on a 2-prize Pokemon is not something I'm getting excited about. But for free energy, you do 130 and discard 2 energy, and you get paralysis and poison. An automatic paralysis and poison is great, and when you combine it with stuff like Toxicroak to do extra poison damage, there clearly is a bit of potential here. But this is darkness free energy, and you discard 2 of them. So that's kind of awkward. I mean, what are you going to do? You're going to use it with Porygon Z? I mean, you can. It will work. Or Welder or something like that. I don't know if we got the best way to accelerate energy, but I do know that automatic paralysis and poison might be something to play around with. And then the final one of these, I told you there were a bunch, there's 8 of them in total, is Aegislash. I should mention I've done videos about all of these cards. I'll link them in the description, but I thought it would be nice to have a quick run through rather than just showing you the art. Although the art is up there for all to see and is kind of lovely. So Aegislash V then, what we've really got here is for free energy, 130, but damage from the attack isn't affected by any effects on your opponent's active Pokemon. It is an answer to something like Decidueye. Or it's an answer to something like Obstagoon, for instance. It is exactly the kind of tech that you want to put into your decks. Now, moving over to the VMAXs, there are 4 of them, and we are getting lovely rainbow rare versions of them, and a lot of these kind of rescue the Vs from otherwise mediocrity. So we've got Orbeetle V Max, and I told you I wasn't a huge fan of Orbeetle V, but the V Max I feel very differently about. It's got a wonderful ability that honestly should be on a Flygon, because traditionally these kind of things have been, but just once during your turn, if it's in the active, you can put 1 damage counter on each of your opponent's Pokemon. And bearing in mind that it's not between turns or limited to once during your turn, so that means that you absolutely are able to go nuts with this and use it kind of multiple times during your turn. You can be switching around and dropping 2 or 3 damage counters on all of your opponent's Pokemon. Tell me that isn't going to end up being good at some point. It's also got a moderately powerful attack that does 50 base plus 50 more for each energy attached to your opponent's active, which could be fun and could be kind of useful. But it is the ability I like this for primarily. As for Galerian Darmanitan V Max, there is a single attack here, but it's one that, if you forgive the weakness to metal, and that is a bad weakness, 4 energy, 200 damage, and 30 to each of your opponent's bench. So we've got this really good spreading attack, but you're also doing 200 to the active? Yeah, that is a kind of damage which is going to add up very quickly. Now, I told you I like Pikachu V Max. It's getting a lovely rainbow rare, as all of these are, and I do like Pikachu V Max. Free lightning energy, 120, but you may discard all lightning energy attached to this Pokemon, and if you do, you actually do 270. And the thing is, we've got a big V Max that should be doing 270 every turn. It's Eternatus. Now, Eternatus gets the larger bench and all of that, and arguably has some better tricks, but we've got ways to get the energy on lightning Pokemon, and I don't know, I don't think it's quite as good as Eternatus. But given that it's doing the same amount of damage and is probably just as easy to attack with, I do think there is absolutely cool stuff we can do with Pikachu. I think it could be good. Now, I didn't mention Aegislash V Max before because I actually like Aegislash V a lot, but it is getting a V Max. And it's got 1 attack, 3 energy, 160, plus 30 more for each prize card you've already taken. So essentially the theory here is that this is your finisher. If you've taken 5 prize cards, you're hitting 310 damage. That is quite a lot. And that's why I like this. I prefer E/V, weirdly enough, but I do like that you're actually doing a lot of damage with a second attack late in the game, so you do have a finisher, so to speak. So those are the Pokemon and the Vs and the VMAXs and all of that good stuff, but we're also getting some supporters, and they are actually getting both Rainbow Rare and Full Art versions. And I'm going to start with B, because B is blatantly my favourite of them. And you can see all 3 artworks on the screen, so we're going to have to kind of squeeze a translation at the bottom here. Translations from the lovely Antoine Boulet and the lovely Joe from Cerebi.net, obviously. And what we've got here is a supporter card that lets you discard the top 5 cards of your deck. But if there are any energy there, and it does say energy, it does not say basic energy, you get to attach them to your bench fighting Pokemon in any way that you like. Now, as a man that likes playing fighting decks, I adore this. But remember, this works with special energy as well. So something like a Twin Energy or a Stone Fighting Energy would absolutely work beautifully here. And let's not forget that my boy Excadrill really wants to be having a low deck size at times. And let's not forget that that new promo Machamp does damage dependent on how many fighting Pokemon there are in the discard pile. And actually, this, yes, is good for energy acceleration, but there are some specific Pokemon here that can do so much more. Now, we're also getting a full art and a rainbow rare version of Leon. Leon just lets you do an extra 30 damage to your opponent's active Pokemon this turn. And this goes back to my old adage of doing extra damage is always good. There are going to be decks that take advantage of this and have really, really key KOs that we didn't expect. And then finally we got a full art version and a rainbow rare version of Nessa, and Nessa's just great for water decks. You put a total of 4 water Pokemon and water energy from your discard pile into your hand, and it's straight into your hand so you can use them later, or, next turn, and you don't have to search them out, etc. Lots of stuff to love about Nessa here if you're playing water decks. Now, we always do get a couple of gold cards in these sets, and obviously this one is no different. We got ourselves a couple of gold Pokemon Tool cards, and they are good. We are getting a gold version of Longview Scope. This is the one that makes all of your Pokemon that hit the bench do 30 more to GXs and Vs. And I said at the time, there are going to be a bunch of Pokemon out there, like Cramorant V and like Salamence V, for instance, who are just absolutely going to make hay with this. Any Pokemon that hits the bench is going to have to consider it. And then we've got Memory Capsule. Now, Memory Capsule is it really is just a tool version of Memory Energy, or Memory Berry, or Shrine of Memories, etc. We've seen this before, but it lets you use the attacks of your pre-evolutions. And this is exactly the kind of thing that is going to be used in a bunch of decks. And no, I'm not saying it's going to be used in every single deck we ever see. I'm sure there's going to be a bunch of decks that have no interest in using it. But there are going to be a bunch of decks that do, and they are going to love it. And of course, it is customary in these sets to get one random gold Pokemon from an older set. What do we get this time round? It's Obstagoon! I know we've already mentioned Obstagoon, right? Obstagoon is a really good Pokemon. You've got that great ability that drops 3 damage counters onto one of your opponent's Pokemon when you evolve up into it. And then we've got the attack that blocks basic Pokemon. It's a Pokemon that's made its own deck and seen a bit of success here and there already. So having a gold version of it is cool. And I do love that these gold Pokemon that we are getting, they're not necessarily the best Pokemon out there, but they are always good playable Pokemon that are absolutely worth having in lovely gold versions, and that makes me rather happy. So there we go, ladies and gentlemen. That is all of the lovely secret rares and rainbows, and call it what you will. And now it's over to you guys. I want to hear from you, lovely ladies and gentlemen. I want to know, which of these you want and which of these you think have the best rainbow, full art, gold, whatever versions. So go nuts in the comment section, but be nice. And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at @TheWassy, and Twitch for some live action at twitch.tv/PTCGRadio. If you want to support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all that good stuff, head on over to patreon.com/PTCGRadio, where you can do exactly that. But by far the most important thing, as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.